Today we'll be talking a little bit about the Tier 8 Pan-Asian destroyer Chung Mu, but we'll also be giving you the play-by-play of this game because it's a pretty well-played game on my part, and the quality of destroyer gameplay lately is, to put it generously, lacking. It always has been. People tend to, or at least they seem to play destroyers with one thing in mind: chasing damage, specifically damage they get from their torpedoes against battleships. For those of you out there who spend your time using your destroyers to do that kind of thing, understand that that is really not your role. Your role is to spot for your team and to take the objectives. Destroyers are the stealthiest class, therefore they can get closer to the enemy without being spotted and spot them in return, and also they're very suited to taking the capture circles. So especially in a domination mode game, that is your goal, to spot and to take caps. Now, this game is a little bit unusual. It's a 7v7. I suspect that's because somebody turned off crossplay for reasons unknown to me, and when I loaded into it, I was initially quite disappointed, but it turned out to be a very sweaty game. So, in any case, Fletcher is entering this cap circle with us, and he's smoking up. Notice we are not smoking up. Why not? Because as soon as he smokes up, we're going to go unspotted. There's nothing that has line of sight on us, so we don't want to waste one of our smoke screens. Next move we're going to make. We know Fletcher is inside of that smoke screen right in front of us, and there's a little sandbar right there with the wreck of a ship. So we're going to park our destroyer right here, because if the Fletcher launches torpedoes, they're going to catch that little sandbar rather than us. Obviously, we're not going to launch our torpedoes at him because the Pan-Asian destroyers are equipped with deep-water torpedoes, which cannot damage other destroyers. They can only damage battleships, cruisers, and aircraft carriers. So we launch some torpedoes at the Brandenburg, pushing in there toward the Bravo cap. If he continues on that course, he's probably going to eat a couple of them. Meanwhile, Fletcher is firing inside of his smoke screen. I can't quite seem to get a beat on him, but we're going to try to blind fire him, and this time we smoke up. Why do we do that? Well, because the Brandenburg is in line of sight of us, so if we shoot, well, not concealed by our smoke, we're going to get spotted, and the Fletcher can shoot at us, and we can't see him. Meanwhile, the Fletcher gets spotted somehow. I don't know if he reversed out of his smoke screen or what, but we actually do get a hit on him. And for some reason, apparently I'm just bad at blind firing. I cannot seem to get any more hits on him. That's okay, though. We're going to hold on to this capture circle. The enemy has taken Bravo. We hit some torpedoes there against Brandenburg. Our Akizuki on the other side of the map has taken Charlie. So it's 1v1 in terms of cap control. If we allow this Fletcher to take this cap, then they're going to have two caps, and we want to avoid that. And, of course, Fletcher backs out of the cap, which is great. This is going to allow us to take it. We have no idea where he is. We're just, I don't even know why we're shooting inside of the capture circle while the Fletcher is clearly not in it. I have no idea what I was thinking there, but a little bit of a, I guess, mistake on my part. Or poor aiming for blind firing, I have no idea. In any case, it doesn't really matter. As long as the Fletcher is out, we're going to be able to take this cap. But the problem in this game is that there are CVs, and that's going to come into play a little bit later. Note also that I'm running the smoke screen on the Chung Mu, when you also have the choice, instead of running smoke screen, you can use radar. It's a 7.5 kilometer radar with about 18 or 20 second duration, can't remember the number. A lot of people are going to be running the radar rather than the smoke, but I submit to you that the smoke screens are going to be more useful in more situations than the radar is going to be. Yes, if we had radar right now, we could indeed radar that Jutland and probably do some damage to him. But we have the smoke screens, and these Pan-Asian smoke screens are, in my opinion, some of the best destroyer smoke screens in the game, right next to the British ones. In fact, they are sort of like the extended version of the British destroyer smokes. You start off with 4 of them, and when you deploy one, it lasts for just over a minute. And if you can sit in the smoke screen for the full duration, then by the time the smoke runs out, the smoke screen consumable has about 60 seconds left to go until it's off cooldown. That's very fast. That means you can deploy these smoke screens one after another, and as long as you do it efficiently, you can essentially have a 1 minute gap between smoke screens for the entire game. That's incredibly useful, especially on a destroyer like the Chung Mu, which is essentially a Fletcher, an excellent gunboat. The only real difference is that it has the deep water torpedoes and it doesn't have the American smoke screens. To be fair, I think I prefer the Pan Asian smoke screens to the American ones. Yes, they last very long, but you only get two of them. And so if you deploy one in an inopportune place, let's say, then you've only got one chance for another, whereas with this thing you've got four. So we've smoked up here. We know the Fletcher is still out there. We were pursuing the Jutland a little bit. We're going to see if we can't get the sinking blow there on the Brandenburg, but we don't. That's fine. We do get a fire on him. One of our teammates is going to take him down. Jutland reappears, spotted by our CV. So we're going to take the opportunity to try to get some hits on him. Anytime a destroyer is spotted within your range and you're playing a destroyer, you really need to try to shoot at it with your guns. But at the same time, you don't want to give up your life in the process. One of your goals as a destroyer needs to be to survive till the end of the game. Do not, under any circumstances, allow yourself to perish inside of a capture circle within the first 5 minutes. You couldn't possibly accomplish anything less useful to your team than if you did that. You want to be surviving all the way till the end, because a destroyer becomes exponentially more valuable the more HP it has, the longer the game goes on. So that's always our goal, in addition to spotting and taking capture circles in a destroyer. Of course, in a game like this with a CV, the spotting becomes less important because the aircraft carrier is much better and more efficient at spotting targets than a destroyer is, and it does not have to risk anything except the reload time on its main armament to do so. I know there are a lot of people out there who think that that is some sort of risk, but it's not. Flying your planes through AA and losing them does not affect your ability to stay inside of the game, it just affects your ability to deal damage. And planes regenerate. There's no limit to that, so all you're doing is increasing your reload when your planes get taken down by AA. And we're going to see some terrible things on behalf of the enemy CV later. Some things that really get me a little bit, what's the word? Turnt? I don't know. A little bit tilted, a little bit salty. You'll see coming up soon. But for now, the CV, our CV, has spotted the Fletcher momentarily. Whether the Fletcher saw us or not, I don't know, but we know the direction he's traveling in, so we're going to sail on an intercept course. Our battleship next to us is pushing up, and we can tell that that Fletcher is going to come around this island. He's probably going to try to torpedo that battleship. I have no idea what it is that possesses battleship players to sail straight into the enemy spawn. It's not a good idea. We saw that earlier with the battleship that actually sailed into the Alpha Cap with us, and we're about to see that with this Iowa here. The Fletcher did come around the island. I'm suspecting he launched torpedoes, so I'm kind of holding back before I go. And what do you know, we spot the torpedoes right there. Looks like he only got off one set, but because the Iowa is for some reason inexplicably pushing into the enemy spawn, well, he's going to take all those torpedoes, and you can see he's on pretty pristine health. And, well, he's not going to be after this. He takes a big chunk from somebody over there. CV is coming in with torpedo bombers, and, well, the Fletcher is the one that takes out the Iowa. CV spots us, so we turn on our AA. Note that we had it turned off up until this point. Why? Well, because our detectability by air really isn't that big. It's like 2 or 3 kilometers or something along those lines, meaning the planes have to be within that distance of us to spot us. And our AA range is longer than our concealment range by air. So if we turn off our AA, the planes actually have to be in our concealment circle for air in order to spot us. Whereas if we have the AA turned on, then if the planes are outside of our concealment circle for air, they will be able to see our AA shell tracers, and it will help the CV locate our position much easier and help them spot us. So we turn off the AA until the planes spot us, at which point we turn it on to start shooting down some planes. Not that that really makes too much of a difference. In any case, the Fletcher has flipped Alpha, and in retrospect, I wonder whether I could have done better in this game by turning around and retaking Alpha. It's a completely free cap, after all. And right now, the Charlie cap is turning red because the Jutland we were shooting at earlier is inside of it. My goal initially, at this part of the match, I think, was to go and pursue that Jutland. But I'm getting distracted in trying to farm some damage off of this Minnesota and potentially get some torpedoes on the other battleship out there if it pushes more toward Alpha. In any case, we're being spotted by planes once again, so the Minnesota gets a shot on us. We don't want to take any more damage. We've lost about a third of our HP, and that's fine. We really don't want to lose any more. We want to try to stay as healthy as possible, especially given the fact that our Akizuki out there is on quite low health. You see, he's playing the Charlie cap, and hopefully he'll be able to get into it and pursue the Jutland. In any case now, we need to move up. If we're not going to go take Alpha, then we need to go toward Charlie and hopefully intercept the Jutland and take it down. We need to be careful, though, going around this gap. Our concealment is 6 kilometers by sea, and we're in spotting range of the Iwami. So, well, there's the Jutland, by the way, spotted by the enemy CV, so we're going to pause here. We're not going to go forward anymore. I don't think any of the capital ships can shoot at us, so it's just the Jutland. Taking precise aim, not letting the reticule off him for a second, and we're able to take him down. So that's both DDs dispatched, only 2 battleships and the CV left. The game is very, very winnable at this point, although we really do need to retake either Charlie or Alpha, because if the enemy continues to hold 2 caps, there is a possibility that they could overtake us on points. And here, by the way, is something that illustrates the complete bullshit of a CV. I've got torpedoes from the Jutland coming at me, and then the CV launches torpedoes at me from the sky, creating an instant crossfire with absolutely no risk to him. So I either have to try to dodge his torpedoes and potentially take the Jutland ones, or, I dodge the Jutland torpedoes and then I take the CV torpedoes. Catch-22, I know a lot of people think that somehow this is proper mechanics, but it is not. It is completely unfair, and I really kind of hate it. Don't mean to whine and complain, of course. There are, in fact, some counters to CVs, and the best counter is to hide inside of a smoke screen. Luckily, the Pan-Asian smoke screens are so plentiful and so good that they are very well suited to doing just that. We'll be able to take this smoke screen for the full duration. We launched torpedoes through the gap because it looked like maybe the CV was actually going to sail this way. Obviously, the Flandre is, and he's probably not going to stop inside of this gap, but if he does, he's going to eat all these torpedoes. Looks like he is going to go past, and, well, at this kind of distance, 4 kilometers or so away, I probably should be a little bit more concerned about blind fire than I am, because, well, Flandre hits me with a single shell from a blind fire, and now I have 11 HP. One little tap from even a secondary is going to sink me at this point, and the CV is trying to drop me with his ordnance from inside of the smokescreen. Note that I have my AA turned off once more. At least I think I do, or I should. The reason for that is because if the planes hover above my smokescreen and they see the AA emanating from it, that's going to help the Lexington actually drop bombs on me blindly, which is something you can easily do in a CV if you can see the destroyer's AA. Contrary to what you might think after my little bit of a rant there about CVs, I do in fact know how to play them, which is the reason I sort of hate them, because they play by unfair mechanics. So anyway, turning off your AA is a good idea if you don't want to be spotted by the CV. Now, though, there's less than 1 minute left to go. It's crucial we survive this battle, and we can't do that if we get spotted by the CV. Our smoke screen is 30 seconds off cooldown. We note the positions of the enemy battleships on the map. If we go over here, hopefully we can get some fire on this Lexington. We're going to launch our torpedoes at him, even though he is reversing behind the island. One of his planes does spot us, along with our cruiser teammate. And one of the battleships is coming around that gap. He's going to be able to fire at us, so we need to be extremely careful, and frankly, we need some luck. So I'd say right there it's just luck that the battleship misses us, but thankfully our smoke screen is off cooldown, so we can deploy that any second, Xarkun. Do it now. What are you doing? There we go. We're going to deploy the smoke screen because we're still spotted. That battleship over there is still alive. We don't want to be shot by him and sunk in the final moments, especially because this Mogami looks like he might be if he's not too careful. But the game ends with our glorious victory. So we stay alive along with our Akizuki, we play the objectives, we counter the enemy destroyers, and we get 3200 base XP. Most important things to keep in mind while playing a destroyer, and the Chung Mu is an especially good one. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.